Hey, what's going on, guys? Sean Staplefield here with a honing video for once, and it has been a minute since I've actually done one of these. Yeah, got this sent to me for honing. This was from a fellow YouTuber, so I kind of want to plug his channel here. He has great content, very informative, and I really like the way he is able to explain things like he's almost a teacher in a sense. So, mad respects. This is from El Mezcalero, Nick. So, Nick, thank you for sending this to me my way. So, Nick got this sent to get honed by a professional sharpener. And for those guys that are watching this channel, I think I should warn you. Professional sharpeners, especially in your hometown or around your area, they're going to tell you what they need to tell you to get business. And they might be great knife sharpeners, but this is an entirely different beast. I'm going to put an image of how the edge looked. So yeah, that's a pretty rough edge right there. That's not what the razor is supposed to look like. Now, I already took some measures and did some fixing up. I did some fixing up in the spine because the geometry was off. So that's why you can see that it's a little shiny there when I move the razor. So I fixed the geometry. If you guys haven't delved into or if you haven't jumped into learning about geometry and what that entails, I really recommend you guys do, because it's such an important thing that doesn't get talked about often in the YouTube space. So yeah, did that correction work, and I went to the 1K Rockstar, which I have here. Great, beautiful stone, very nice white color. Why do I like that? Because I can see the work that I'm doing. That's just a little caveat. And so when I was done with the 1K, this is how the edge looked under this microscope right here. Wow, a big difference, and that's on a 1K. So imagine what the professional knife sharpener was using for that edge. No wonder when my good friend Nick came out of that shop, he said it wasn't even able to cut hair. And now I'm going to put a video of how the edge should cut. Okay, this is my girl's very fine hair, and this is coming from my first stone, which is the coarsest stone that I use. I don't know if you saw that. I'm trying to put a white surface so you can see the hair fall, but not most guys. Some guys just go through the progression really fast and go to the finishing stones. I like to stay on the like first stone until I can get results like this. My thought process being, if I can get these results on the first stone, on the core stone, then imagine the results I can get with the finer stones, right? And this is the foundation of what I'm doing. Yeah, I have no idea what the guy that you sent this razor to did to it. This is the first stone in the progression, but like I said, not many guys have the same mindset as I do. Beautiful. So that's how the edge should be performing at the lowest part of the progression. Or, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to teach or anything, although I do think you will learn a lot from watching videos on YouTube from different people. That's what I did when I started. I started watching different people. Different people had advice, and eventually you kind of put a filter on things, and you kind of weave out the good and the bad. But now we're going to go and keep working on the bevel set. I want to talk a little bit of how I use names. So a 1K stone for me, I'm sharpening. And what's the difference between sharpening and polishing? It's doing the same thing. It's removing material. But I think the difference is when I'm talking about sharpening, I'm talking about removing material or steel at a faster rate. So for me, the 1K and the 3K are sharpening stones because they remove material a lot faster. Now, when I come into a 6K, now I'm removing material at a lot slower rate. And so people might have different definitions of how they see sharpening and polishing, but for me, polishing is just removing metal at a much slower rate, and that's where the 6K and the 8K comes into play. Now I could go into these Sharpened rock stars, which are beautiful. They're beautiful stones. They are the best technology, best bang for your buck that you can get right now. But I do want to play with this stone because not everybody has a Sharpened rock star, and I don't want to make it seem like, you know, that's the only stones that you should work with. You know, people have different stones, and they can all get your gear sharp, keen, and shave ready. So let's try something a little bit more economical. And so this is the king stone. It's notorious for people saying it's crap. It has I believe this is 800 instead of 1000. This one needs soaking, and this one is the 6000. Although I will say, I don't think it's a 6000 like this, even though king whetstones do follow the JIS standard. I do think this is a little bit finer, so that's something to consider. You do get what you pay for. And so this 6000, even though it does follow the JIS standards, I believe it's closer to a 3K, maybe a 4K on a good day. I'm hoping it's like a 4K, but I'm thinking of this 6K like a 3K. So I hope that makes sense. So we need to wet the stone. As you can see, it's going to soak up a little bit of water, but not a lot. And I think we should be good right there. Okay? I used to be a person that would do his X strokes like that, right? And just do my progression doing X strokes. I don't know if it's that I become lazier, but the more you read, the more theory that you read, and the more you study, the more that you look at sharpening razors as it's very similar to sanding. So I'm looking at this as a piece of wood, and I'm looking at this stone as a piece of sandpaper, and I'm just trying to sand and remove those scratches that were there before from the 1K. So that's what I want to do here. So, and I used to think that doing circles was bad for the razor. Right now, I don't really care too much if I do circles, especially in the sharpening stage of razor honing. And I am putting a good amount of pressure, and I am torquing towards the edge. I want to be edge biased. I don't want to put too much pressure, but I am putting a significant amount of pressure. I always like, after I do half strokes or circles, I always like cleaning up the edge with X strokes. And you can use one hand, or you could use two hands. If someone tells you how to do something, they're just being gatekeepers. Do it the way is most natural to you. In fact, I think if you're a lot more comfortable using two hands, you know, you're going to have a better stroke. Because if something is uncomfortable, don't do something just because someone told you it's the best way to do it. Be rational and use your common sense, and if using two hands is what's most comfortable for you, then I would argue that it's for a reason, you know. So I did some cleanup strokes right there. I want to take a look at the edge over here, and I'm not sure how that's going to look on camera. I'm guessing that the type of video I'm going to make here is going to be a little bit more in the raw version. I'm not going to be... So you can kind of get on the screen an idea of how the edge looks. I want to make sure that I'm hydrating the stone. As you can see, there's swarf right there. And it's coming off with the hand. For me, that's a good sign, you know. It's not like it's embedded into the stone. But those razors right there are pretty soft steel. Why do I have tape on the edge? I'm not telling you to use tape or not use tape. The reason why I am using tape is because the bevel angle on this was low. If you don't know what bevel angle is, I need to make a video on that, and in fact I will in the future. But it has a low bevel angle, and since I had to fix the spine a little bit to get the razor to perform at its peak, it got a little bit lower, not much. It was just a little correction work, but actually want to remove that. But the bevel angle is lower, and so I did the calculations and I put a piece of tape. This razor now can get honed on a piece of tape for a long while, and it's going to perform awesome. So that's the reason. I don't want to get the bevel angle lower because then it's going to be very keen, but it's also not going to last as long. Now I'm going to go with circles again, and again I'm edge bias. And my pressure now is not the same pressure that I had before. I kind of dialed it back a little bit now. And you can see a lot less metal is coming off now. And if you can listen, it sounds different. It's more of a wisp now. So here's another important thing that, at least in my honing, it's important, is that we often talk about honing and honing in a manner where you do counting and honing in a way that almost sounds mystical, like I'm honing by feel. Well, what does that mean, honing by feel? For different people, it means different things. For me, I don't like calling it honing by feel. I like calling it honing by observation. And you know, computers take information in ones and zeros, and I would like to think that good honers take information in a different variety of languages. What's happening right here is a language in a sense, because what I can see, the swarf that is coming off, is telling me one thing. You know, if I put a lot of pressure and I see a lot of metal coming off, it's telling me, you know, you're sharpening aggressively. Now I can see that I'm sharpening in a milder way. And so to me, that's not honing by feel, that's honing by observing. And when I listened that the stone before sounded a lot coarser, that to me is talking to me in a different language. It's telling me you're honing very aggressively. And now the pitch changed a little bit, right? Now it's a lot smoother. It has this ring to it. And for me, it's telling me I'm being a lot milder, you know, being a little bit more refined. And the same thing happens when you look at the razor and you see that you don't have any undercut. Eventually you do get that undercut. Well, to me, what that's telling me is, you know, I'm not there yet. And then when I start seeing that undercut, that's telling me, okay, the face of the bevel is getting to a thin point that it's able to squeegee off the water. So it's not really honing by feel. It's more honing by observation. And so I think that's one distinction that I want to make. I'm not a feel honer. And in fact, I do have my ways of doing things that I always repeat them over and over. So it's not like I'm counting, but you know, I do start with always with my circles, and then I always go to my X strokes at the end. I always like having those scratches looking towards the edge, to the very apex of the edge. I don't like having those random scratches on the on the metal. What does happen in my process is that if I do my circles and then I do my X strokes, and by the end of it I'm not where I want to be, I repeat it, you know. It's never a finishing line. It's always like a checkup line where I check where I'm at. And I don't know if that makes any sense, checkup line. I don't even know if that's a word. But it's where I stop and review my process, and if I'm getting the results I want, I stop and move forward. And if I'm not getting what I want, I stop and I repeat the process. So I hope that makes sense. Can you guys hear that? Take your time. Don't worry about honing fast or slow. Give the razor what the razor needs. All right. And sometimes you do a little bit more, and because you're having fun and you're kind of in the process. Just enjoy it, because we're here to have fun. That's the main thing. Okay, to me that looks good. Yeah, that looks great. I feel this is a great starting point. We talked about some fundamentals. Fundamentals to me. You take your fundamentals from wherever you want, but this is just how I do things and what my mind is going through. If you like what you hear and it makes sense to you because it's, I don't know, like common sense, then go ahead and message me. I have my email in the description below. My comment section is always open. My phone number, I'm probably going to give it to you if you call me. Actually, the other day I was in a forum talking about these convex stones with a fella. And sometimes through the internet forums, there's like miscommunication or mistranslation. He thought I said one thing, I said another. But he wanted to talk to me on the phone. We did. And it was unpleasant in the forums because there was that aspect of not being able to communicate well. I also don't know if English is his first language. But he's a real smart fella. And once we talked on the phone, or FaceTime actually, he was actually really cool. He actually has a YouTube channel. He's called Vatan Mas. I can't remember his name right now, but, you know, he's someone who has a lot of knowledge in the space. And so we were able to understand each other on the phone, and that's what it's all about, man. We're not here to make enemies. We're not here to try to gatekeep or take people to our side and I'm a synthetic honer, I'm a conical honer, I'm a JNAT honer, convex or flat, you know, everything serves different reasons or different purposes. So it's just honing, it's a hobby, it's supposed to be fun, you're supposed to make friends. Guys, go check out Contraband Bay Rum. This, my God, let me take another whiff. This is probably, not probably, this is my favorite frickin' Bay Rum that I have put my nose on. This is some real good, this is just the way I talk. When I say good shit, I mean it's some really good stuff. I'm not meaning like it's shit, by the way, but this is some fucking good shit right here. And, yeah, I think you guys should check it out. Yeah. He's kind of slick with it. He told AI to make him look handsome, make him look like a pirate, and I think that's what he did because that kind of looks like him. So, and yeah, while you're at it, get yourself the after sauce because I do feel like there's a different, I don't think what he used here is the same that he used here. They're a little bit different, they're reminiscent, but they're not exactly the same. And in my opinion, that is even better because sometimes you want an aftershave splash that is the same as the soap. But for me, that is a lot more sophisticated to make not an exact replica of the soap, because that's easy. You just take the same oils and put it, but make something that complements it. That's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more sophisticated, and it's a lot more enjoyable because it takes you through a story. You start here, and then when you're done with the shave, you're with the after splash, and you're somewhere else. So you took a journey. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Did some honing. That's some great stuff. See you guys. Love you long time. And have a good one. Stay classy, my friends. Oh, wait, that's Eric. He's the one that says that. What am I supposed to say?